The US is preparing to strike Venezuelan military facilities, according to the Wall Street Journal. The publication notes that port infrastructure will be the primary targets. The White House has already identified targets used for drug smuggling, including ports, maritime facilities, and airports, reports the Wall Street Journal. It is noted that if President Trump decides to move forward with airstrikes, they said, the targets would send a clear message to Venezuelan leader Nicolás Maduro that it is time to step down. While the president hasn't made a final decision on ordering land strikes, the officials said a potential air campaign would focus on targets that sit at the nexus of the drug gangs and the Maduro regime. Trump and his senior aides have been particularly focused on unsettling Maduro as the US military has attacked boats allegedly carrying drugs in the Caribbean and Eastern Pacific Ocean. As a reminder, a large American naval group has been cruising off the coast of Venezuela for several weeks, threatening to strike at any moment. Experts say a ground operation could then begin, which, however, carries serious risks for the American military. Despite this, observers believe Trump is unlikely to resist overthrowing Nicolás Maduro, whom he considers a dictator and drug trafficker. Notably, a possible American troop operation in Venezuela is actively supported by Nobel Peace Prize laureate and Venezuelan opposition politician Maria Corina Machado. According to her, there are now no other options left to force Nicolás Maduro from office other than a US military operation. Recently, multiple Air Force B-1B Lancer bombers flew near Venezuela in the latest US show of force, aimed at Caracas and drug cartels from the Latin American country. People familiar with the matter told Air and Space Forces magazine. The mission off the coast of Venezuela marked the third such bomber flight since October the 15th. US military officials have described the flights as bomber attack demonstrations. As with the previous flights, the B-1s were visible on open-source flight tracking websites, an indication that the Pentagon was making no attempt to hide the flight. At one point, the B-1s were roughly 20 miles from Venezuela, flying off the country's northern coast, the closest the 3 bomber missions have come to date. The military operations are part of a broader pressure campaign on drug cartels and the regime of Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro, who the White House says is an illegitimate leader. President Donald Trump has said on multiple occasions that the US may strike targets on land. The US military has conducted the show of force bomber flights roughly once a week, a pattern that shows no signs of stopping, people familiar with the matter said. B-1s are capable of carrying standoff cruise missiles and guided bombs that could be used in possible strikes on land.
Russians have intensified the shelling on Pokrovsk to support their infiltration attempts into the town, but this came at a huge risk. Ukrainian units began targeting exposed Russian equipment, stopping the artillery barrage on the town and creating a window of opportunity for the friendly forces on the ground, RFU news media outlet says. It is noted that Russians are now bombarding Pokrovsk and the neighboring Myrnohrad with unprecedented fury to crush the Ukrainian defense. The Russian command has unleashed the full power of its artillery, including thermobaric systems. For months, the Ukrainian stronghold of Pokrovsk stood firm through endless bombardments, but now the defenders face Russian assault teams, often no more than 2 or 3 men at a time, who crawl forward through tree lines and ruins, using their own drones to provide overwatch. Each group that survives digs in and begins ambushing Ukrainian soldiers and civilians alike, RFU News says. This is combined with heavy Russian drone activity and artillery fire, as Ukrainian units report that even reaching their positions has become a deadly ordeal, with every road into Pokrovsk being watched by Russian FPV and fiber optic drones. Yet despite the chaos, Ukrainian defenders hold, and their answer has come in the form of a fierce counter-battery campaign. As Russia pushed its artillery forward to pound the towns, Ukrainian drone reconnaissance seized the moment. When thermobaric launchers fire, they must do so within a short range of 3 to 6 kilometers for the TOS-1 and around 15 kilometers for the TOS-2, exposing themselves to detection. Ukrainian operators spotted one such system near the southern edge of Pokrovsk. Within minutes, a pair of FPV drones struck it, detonating its fuel and rockets in a massive explosion that killed the crew. Another strike, captured on video, showed a Ukrainian FPV drone diving into a BM-27 Uragan multiple rocket launcher, destroying it on the road, RFU News reports. Later, a BM-21 Grad launcher was caught firing and obliterated seconds later. Each destroyed system reduces Russia's firepower, giving Ukrainian forces a narrow but vital window to regroup. Ukrainian artillery units joined the hunt, destroying an ancient ML-20 howitzer, a relic from before the Second World War, that Russian troops had dragged out of storage to compensate for mounting gun losses. Precision airstrikes have followed, including 3 GBU-39 glide bombs dropped precisely on 3 Russian batteries firing from tree lines south of Pokrovsk. Despite Russian claims, the intensive bombardments, and the attrition, Pokrovsk still stands. Recall, Russian soldiers have advanced further into the city of Pokrovsk, threatening not only to take the city, but to complete a larger encirclement of the surrounding area, as independent analysts and commanders report a serious deterioration of the Ukrainian position in the area. The defense of the major city in Donetsk Oblast, which has held out for over a year of heavy fighting as one of the main hotspots of the front line, looks to have begun falling apart as Russian soldiers in their hundreds have broken into the city limits, spreading in all directions. According to the Ukrainian military, 11,000 Russian troops have been concentrated around Pokrovsk in an attempt to surround the city. Ukrainian commanders' reports as well as open-source data show that Putin's claim of a complete encirclement is still far from reality, but the situation is undoubtedly highly dynamic and deteriorating for the defending side.